Two handsome devils. Over there, they're back there somewhere. I think I've heard of it. It's called Cruel Peter, and it's actually fairly recent, Ashley. It came out in 2019. You may have seen this like on the Walmart shelves or
Probably.
possibly a Best Buy. I had to rent it. Did you rent it also on Amazon?
Mhm.
So I think it was $4.99 if you want to rent it. It's not a bad show. I'm gonna give you the full
surprised you
story.
didn't rent it on Shudder because Shudder is $3.99.
You can rent movies on Shudder.
Yeah.
Since when is that?
I don't know. I looked it up because I was going through every one of them to figure out which one I could watch it on.
Yeah?
And on Shudder, it was $3.99.
Why do you rent it? Well, don't rent it on Shudder because it goes on my fucking credit card.
That's why I didn't rent it.
I'm so stoned. Connor is stoned.
Oh yeah?
Connor, are you getting hungry yet? Because I am.
Like the munchies?
I could do like some popcorn chicken or something to that effect.
Popcorn chicken.
Can't do it right now though because we got a goddamn podcast to do, buddy.
Yeah.
Monica is not here. I'm sorry if you guys thought you were going to see her breasts this week. I'm sure you can see them next week here in the padded room. She's been known to open her brassiere from time to time. She'll do it. She'll do it for you. She doesn't care, even when the parole officer is watching. Kind of strange to me, but I don't judge.
He's got to see it too.
Well, he sees it whenever. That's fine.
Yeah, but when you're away in different states,
I guess. I mean, if as long as he's watching,
yeah,
I don't know what the rules are for these weirdo relationships.
That's right. Hey, baby, I'm in Oregon.
Hey.
Pop it out.
Yeah, whip it out for the 14 people that are watching on the Psycho Bunny Does.
That's why it's not such a big deal.
So yeah, I mean, as long as we all know each other and we're all good with it, then by all means, show the boobies. The bubbies, as they say. Are you guys ready to get into a goddamn podcast? I hope so, because we're about to drop one on you. It's going to be Cruel Peter here in the Padded Room podcast. Odd Mother Month. She has chosen all the movies for the month. So far, I think this is the best one because Colin. What was the other one that we did? It was Lesbian Vampire Killers. And that was that was some dumb shit, is what it was. It was fine. It was fine. It was like a Shaun of the Dead knockoff. Yeah. But it was pretty fucking silly. It's silly. That's the best way to say it. I need my weed more than my alcohol. Well, see, that's where we differ, Connor. I prefer the booze because, I don't know, I feel like I can lose weight that way. And it's slightly healthier situation. When I get stoned, I get the munchies, and I will hammer a bag of potato chips like that. And then the next morning I wake up
I can do that not stoned.
Okay. Well, I try not to. I try not to. But I will wake up feeling bloated and disgusting, and usually with some mild diarrhea. And I don't even remember what I got into. There's just fast food wrappers and candy wrappers. And
did you know that if you look at the bag of like fat-free chips on the back of it, it says warning may cause anal leakage?
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah, go to the store next time you find some fat-free chips. Look at the.
I'm not known for looking at any kind of warning label.
Hey, Monica.
Oh, Monica's in the house now. She wants to show up.
Yeah.
The Cruel Peter trailer looks good. It's not bad. It's not too bad. Fuck is this?
I don't know, but it's kind of creepy.
Yeah. We just got accosted by a hooded figure on YouTube. All right, we're going to do a podcast now. You guys ready to do this? Here we go. That's right, inmates. We are talking about Cruel Peter from 2019. This one got 3.9 stars.
3.9
on IMDb, which is, I feel, a bit
low,
conservative. It could be, it's a little low. I feel like This one's written and directed by Christian Bisqueglia. Stars Angelica Alizueria, Antonio Arrigo, and Aaron Brennan.
So Connor's getting horny right now.
Oh, okay. Well, Connor, if you want to send some pics to the Padded Room page, we're happy to review them, and we can. I don't know. I will definitely check those out. We're going to need some pics. Monica, you should be with the boys. LOL. I agree. Connor,
yes,
she should be with the boys.
Yeah.
This
Hospital
is what happens.
And all.
This is what happens when we're left unattended, Connor.
Right?
We're talking about Cruel Peter. So, this one is this one feels very much like a Blumhouse movie. We have some heavy shadows. It's got a budget behind it. I'll give it that.
Yeah, it does.
It's a typical ghost story, and there's not a whole lot we haven't seen already here, but we'll get into that.
A little gloomy.
It's very gloomy, but rightfully so, because the atmosphere and the setting of the picture, I feel, kind of formats that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start off actually in 1908, somewhere on the Italian coast.
Yeah.
Now, there is a very wealthy English landowner there that owns an estate in Italy, and single mother, very wealthy, has a son, Peter, who's a bit of a fucking cocksucker. And I tell you what, he's a cocksucker because he's wearing a shirt that has that doily collar on it.
What's up, Orlando?
Nobody wears that shit, even in 1908, unless you're some kind of a piece of self-entitled.
He said it. He's doing a trend. That's what he's doing. He's setting a trend.
He's a piece of shit, is what he is, and we're gonna hammer that point home right off the bat because one of the servant girls rolls up onto the scene and she's got a big gash on her face and she's like, "Hey, fucking, what is he, 11, 10, probably 10 or 11, 10 or 11-year-old Peter sliced my fucking."
Oh, they said he was 12.
12. He's 12-year-old. 12-year-old Peter sliced my fucking face open with a razor.
Not very nice.
So the rest of the servants bring her in, and then they talk to mom, and they're like, "Hey, man, Peter cut this girl's face with a fucking razor." And she's like, "Peter, what do you say about that?" And he's like, "Well, she's a liar. I didn't do that." And mom's like, "Okay, well, there you have it. She's a liar. Get her off my property." And Peter, go on about your business. Therein is a cocksucker. Wow. Wow, Connor. Really? We're gonna jump right into that, huh? Okay. Well, whatever, man. I don't care. I don't even care what you think about me. I'm gonna keep going. So that fucking sucks. This kid is a piece of shit. Okay. We get that right off the bat, and then later on, mom comes at Peter and she's like, "Dude, you cut that girl's face open. Give me the fucking razor." And he's like, "No, that was my dad's razor." And she's like, "Yeah, okay, all right, whatever."
Yeah,
and it just goes on about their business.
It was my dad's razor.
Cut to the next day. Peter has murdered one of the servant boys' dogs. He buried it alive.
Yeah.
And stuck it in the cemetery there on the estate.
I see you found your dog.
Yeah, fucking fuck face. Now, okay, this kid's a piece of shit. I'll give you that. But the fact that he's like so pretty, you know what I'm saying? And he's like so prim and proper with his little doily outfit and his haircut just makes me want to fucking kick this kid in the chops that much more.
Oh, man, right?
Regardless, kills the dog. The servant boy, Antonio, rolls up and he's like, "Hey, I found my dog, you piece of shit. You fucking buried him alive." And he's like, "It's not my fault. It's your fault. You didn't find your dog."
Oh, this is he's torturing a rat?
As he's lighting a rat on fire. So Antonio's like, "Fuck you." And he's like, "You lay one hand on me and my mom is going to have you thrown right off the estate. Your family will starve."
Yeah, so what kind of place is this? Is this like an orphanage?
Okay, no, I can explain. So it's an estate. It's an English estate on the Italian coast.
Okay.
So basically, all the land is owned by this wealthy landowner from England. And we'll get into the whole backstory of Peter and what a piece of shit he is later. But that's where the story picks up because Peter's, well, we'll get into this later, but Peter's dad has passed away, left his mom with a lot of money, and thus mom owns a lot of Italian land. Mom is from England, and thus Peter is kind of English born there in Italy.
Okay.
So there's how that works. That being said, Antonio rolls up. He's like, "You murdered my fucking dog, you cocksucker." And then Peter's like, "Go ahead, punch me. My mom will have you thrown off the estate. Your family will starve out there." So Antonio's little brother is like, dude, cool it. We can't be doing this. So they kind of cool Antonio off for a second. Later on that night, Antonio gets even more steamed. He has like a nightmare about his dog. So he's like, "I'm going to fucking show that Peter what a piece of shit he is." Now, I think, and I could be wrong about this, that the original plan was just to scare Peter. But the more Antonio kind of stewed over it, the more he kind of got himself worked up. So Peter's laying in bed that night, being the psychopath that he is, starts getting rocks, little pebbles thrown at his window. So he peeps outside and he's like, "Oh, it's that fucker Antonio. He thinks he's gonna scare me." Alfredo. It was Alfredo. So he's like, "I'm gonna get that fucking Alfredo." He goes out and starts walking around the estate, which is basically like a big wilderness type of thing.
Yeah.
He's like, "Come on, Alfredo." He's got a straight razor. He's like, "Come on, Alfredo.
I know it's you.
You piece of shit. Think you're gonna scare me?" So he's walking down the trail and he comes to what I can only describe as his own headstone, like carved in wood. And it says, "Here lies cruel Peter. What a piece of shit this guy was.
Killed my
dog. And then Peter's like, "Oh, real clever, Alfredo." And then Alfredo pops out from the woods behind him and knocks him out with a shovel.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, good. Fuck this guy.
Right.
And that's kind of, from there, we're going to jump right into modern day. And we're going to revisit that storyline, but not for a while. So now we're going to cut to modern day London, where we have an archaeologist, and he is working tirelessly at the University of London, I guess, as an archaeologist. I didn't particularly care for this dude.
No.
He just had a very coffee commercial look about him.
Yeah.
To me, like he, I don't know, man. He was just a little too handsome. I feel like what I don't know. What does an archaeologist look like? Was I thinking it would be more like an Indiana Jones type, or
maybe I don't know. It didn't fit him at all.
I feel like a modern day archaeologist is more like a fat dude sitting behind a computer. Because I mean.
Well, maybe. There's that type, but there's also the one who actually does the field work.
Well, yeah, I get that too, but I don't think it looks like this dude. No. I feel like it's like a stinky guy.
Yeah,
some kind of a homeless-looking individual.
I just got done using Man Squatch body soap. I'm the archaeologist that's going to go out there and look for this stuff. I mean, it just didn't seem right.
I dug a 12-foot ditch and I found a quarter-inch piece of bone fragment that may have been from the Roman Empire. This guy's like, he's got the wavy Fabio hair in the 5 o'clock shadow, and he's like all rugged looking. He's like, "Oh, these these long hours that I've put in at the archaeologist fucking
still makes me look good.
Oh, I've just been working so hard, bro. I don't even know anymore." I don't know, man. He just didn't. Something about this guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's an archaeologist there with the University of London. He's got I would say probably about a 16-year-old daughter, and she is mute. She cannot speak. She can hear. Well, I don't think she can hear either. I think she's deaf and mute.
Yeah.
Well, I think being deaf kind of makes you mute.
For the most part.
In its own weird way. I don't know how that works, but that's the situation. And he's a single dad, which immediately makes him a heartthrob. Every young lady that he comes across throughout the duration of this movie, instantly horny for this dude. That's fine. I get that. I mean, he's a good-looking dude in the single dad aspect. So that's fine. He's on the outs with his daughter. And his daughter is in that awkward teenage witchcraft kind of phase where...
Well, look what he does. How could she not be?
Yeah, I get that. He's an archaeologist, so like
she's always around dead things.
It's true. That's the truth. And then like he goes into her room when she's not there, and all he finds is like weird spirit guides and books on witchcraft and stuff like that. He's like, "Hey, dude, what are you doing here?"
And when she was younger, she liked to go roam around in the catacombs.
Yeah, why not? And
he's doing his job.
Sure. And when you're 16 and you're feeling alienated, why not go? I could point to a number of 90s chicks that saw The Craft one too many times, and immediately jumped into like some weird. Went to the New Age section of Walden Books and thought
behind the curtain.
Yes. Well, that was the porno section.
Oh,
actually.
Well,
just before
that, right before the curtain.
I mean, behind the curtain is where I went. So I wanted to scope some movies. But that's what she's into. She's like, "Oh." So he goes in there and he's like, "Dude, what is all this spiritual contact the dead shit and all that stuff?" And she's like, "None of your business, Dad. Get the fuck out of here." Via sign language, mind you. So he leaves, goes back and has like a meeting with his superior, and the superior's like, "Dude, you need to not be an archaeologist. You need to just be a dad for a while." And that's cool. I get that. So why don't you, I got this gig set up in Italy. It's the restoration of an old cemetery. Why don't you go check that out? Take the daughter with you. Get some one-on-one time with the daughter, kind of rebuild that relationship. I think it's going to work out beautifully. Yeah, it'd be like a kind of working vacation situation for you guys.
Yeah.
He's like, you know what's a great idea? So him and his daughter go hauling ass to Italy, and they end up on this coast where the old estate was. And we're gonna find a few things out about what happened to Cruel Peter immediately after his untimely sort of demise.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently, Alfredo kind of pulled, and this is all via some dialogue. Alfredo played his trick on Peter, his quote unquote trick on Peter, by knocking him out and burying him alive, the same way that Peter did to his dog. Now, I think at this point, the game plan was to dig Peter up a couple days later and be like, hey, yeah, see what an asshole you are, now go fuck off.
Right.
But unfortunately, in the span of that day or two that Peter was supposed to spend in the coffin, a massive earthquake hit Italy, and it pretty much leveled everything.
Oh, man.
Unfortunately, Alfredo was killed in the earthquake, and thus the location of buried alive Peter was killed with him. So nobody was able to dig up buried alive Peter, which, in my opinion, was kind of a good thing because that kid was a piece of shit.
Right.
So now we cut to present day where our archaeologist is trying to restore this centuries-old cemetery, and it's very beautiful. It's got like all the statues and the sarcophagi, I suppose, and all that fun stuff, and like the overgrown weeds. It's very creepy as shit.
Yeah, pretty cool actually.
Yeah, I would love to spend the night in there. I'm sure it's haunted as fuck.
Oh yeah.
But they're in there, they're trimming the weeds and they're dusting off the shit. And there's a groundskeeper there who's kind of giving them the stink eye. And the groundskeeper calls him over and he's like, hey, here's a fucking coffin that kind of caved in. So they start poking around in there and they find a box of toys. I'm like, what the shit is this? And then they find a picture of Peter's mother. And they're like, oh, look at that. Oh, this is fucking shit here. So now things are kind of getting interesting. And then just as he looks up, he sees an old Italian woman dressed in black, kind of like holding her throat, like off in the distance, going, like, giving like, I got a choke here over here, you fucker. And then he looks away, and then he looks back, and of course she's gone.
Oh, that groundskeeper is a detective.
No.
Or lieutenant.
No, the lieutenant comes into play later. The groundskeeper was, I don't think he liked English people at all. He was like the big fat guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's like, oh, that's fucking weird. So him and his daughter go back to where they're staying, which is not that far removed from the old villa where Peter and his mother were holed up. So they're there and they're hanging. Now, let's get a little bit into the backstory of the archaeologist and his daughter. Now, his daughter clearly is very much into the occult, and she's got all these spirit books and spirit guides, and she's doing some research. She takes a very fascinating approach to spirit communication.
Yeah.
Now, I've never seen this done before, and I don't know if this is real or horseshit. But what she does is she takes a crystal ball, and she found this weird script via some weird old grimoire or something where she just draws all these symbols on the crystal ball, and then she sets it on a stand, backlights it, and then Ouija board asks the crystal ball questions, and then spins it, and then like projects the light through the ball onto a wall behind it, and somehow like the symbols will line up to form actual words.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. I don't know that that's an actual thing or not, but,
but trying to get that to line proportionately would really be difficult.
There's got to be like a fucking equation to where like this quadrant and that is.
Oh man,
forget about it. But that's what happens, and she starts asking this thing questions. Now, mind you, the archaeologist's daughter is missing. Well, she's not missing. She's minus one mom. Okay, and we're going to get into the backstory there in a second, but. She really wants to get into contact with her mom. So she's spinning the crystal ball, backlighting it. Anyone there? And she's fucking mute. So she has to, instead of just asking the crystal ball question, she has to spin it, write the question down real quick, and then look at the projection on the wall to find out if there's an answer. So she tries it a couple of times, gets absolutely nothing, keeps trying, spinning. Eventually she gets tired and goes to sleep. Now, at this point, while she's asleep, the crystal ball backlights itself, starts spinning itself, and then projects the word yes on the wall. She's asleep, mind you. Very well. That's all good. So now we're going to cut to the next day. The excavation process has occurred. The archaeologist has done some research into the history of Peter and his mother, the quote-unquote missing Peter of 1908. Okay, so Peter went missing in 1908, but immediately, i.e. a day or two afterward, massive earthquake. So much like, who was it? Who was the really hot chick that died? Bo Derek, much like Bo Derek. When Bo Derek died, but Michael Jackson died like 6 hours later, everybody completely forgot who Bo Derek was. That's pretty much what happened to Cruel Peter, except he was a piece of shit. He wasn't a hot chick. So Cruel Peter goes missing. Everybody's like, "Oh, where's the kid? Oh, we got a missing kid from English royalty." And then massive earthquake. So all of a sudden, who gives a fuck about Cruel Peter?
Well, there's a whole bunch of people that died.
Yeah, everybody died, including Alfredo, who actually knew the location of where Cruel Peter was buried.
Yeah.
So that kind of sucks, but realistically, good, because fuck that kid and his mom, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. Now, he does all the research. He figures all this shit out. He's like, "Oh, I got a weird crypt here with some toys. I think we just found the hidden tomb of Cruel Peter. Let me send this off to the police department." Mm-hmm. So he does just that, and a lieutenant shows up, and he's like, "Hey, I don't really give a shit about a 112-year-old crime scene, so fuck off." Yeah. Just kind of, it's a cemetery. It's a cemetery. There's dead guys here. You found a dead guy in a cemetery. Well done.
Yeah, good job.
I don't know what to tell you. He's a dead guy in a place where dead guys are, and he's 112 years old. I don't even have any family members to contact, so why don't you just fuck off with all of this, because I don't want to deal with this shit. And that's pretty much what happens. So the Englishman's like, "This is a fucking crime scene, dude. It's a missing kid from 112 years ago, and he's like, "No, I'm not doing it. Forget it. Fuck off. Go away, you fucking Englishman." So, but then the lieutenant just kind of walks off, and the archaeologist is like, "Okay, well, I guess I'll just continue doing my job here, and that's what I'll do." Now we cut to that night, where the archaeologist's daughter is again trying to spin the old snow globe and get a hold of her dead mom on the weird projection screen there. So this time, she actually gets some replies, and it turns out, well, somebody claiming to be her mom. So she's like, "Oh my God, Mom, I'm so happy, yay." Just as she's having this weirdo spirit conversation, the door blows open behind her. She's like, "Ooh, that's the spirit of my dead mom trying to tell me to go." So she goes hauling ass outside. Goes outside, goes up, like traipsing through the woods of the estate, where like there's like a weird black dressed lady, and she's like, "I'm gonna follow her because she's probably my mom, my dead mom." And eventually,
we know better.
Well, of course,
yeah,
of course. Who the fuck would do that? Let me tell you something. I'm trying to contact a dead guy on my spirit ball or Ouija board or whatever, and the door suddenly opens. First, I'm going to take a big dump in my pants. Then I'm going to go get in bed and hide under the covers.
With a flashlight.
Probably with a flashlight until the goddamn sun comes up. And that's it. That's the end of the, no, I'm not touching anything. I don't want anything to do with any of that anymore.
Don't go out, Mike.
Don't go out. Come on, motherfucker. Come on. So, but naturally, she goes chasing the weird black dressed lady out of the woods. And wouldn't you fucking know, she stumbles across a hot blonde lady who's like, "Gotcha."
Yeah.
And she's like, "What the fuck?" Oh, it's a hot blonde. And of course, her dad was like chasing her the whole time. Like, "Hey, what are you running around out in the woods, you deaf lady? What are you doing out there?" So now dad kind of runs into the hot blonde, and he's like, "Hey, that is a hot blonde." So,
right.
Yeah. So, this part is silly a little bit because they're like, "What do you?" She's like, "Oh, I just like to go walking in the woods at night." You're a hot blonde. You just like to go walking out in the woods at night by yourself.
Right.
Okay. Okay. That's what I like to call a bit of a red flag, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm going to have some questions about that. But the 16-year-old daughter is like, she's beautiful, just like mom, i.e., I would like her to be my new mom, is what we're getting at. Now, this whole time, dad has been kind of conjuring, kindling / cultivating a acquaintance / romance with the hot Italian caretaker young lady.
She was hot.
I like her.
Yeah.
She had the big frilly hair, and she had the classic Italian features.
A little dark skin.
Looked like she had a nice body underneath all that weird archaeologist stuff.
She was a bit of all right.
She was a bit of all right, if I do say so myself. And dude, you can tell she was hot for the archaeologist. Right off the bat, she's like, "You should come to my aunt's house for dinner. My aunt makes a great dinner. It's great. You're gonna love it." And he's like, "Oh, I'm just trying to dig up some graves here. I can't be bothered with you, lady." All right, well, go fuck yourself. Anyway, so that's kind of weird. We get the daughter back to the estate there, where she gets to go to sleep. Now she's gonna have a pretty bizarro nightmare sequence. She goes to sleep, and then, well, I don't know if it was a nightmare sequence or not. It might have actually happened now that I think about it. But she starts seeing weird shadow people like in her room, so she gets up to check it out. Gets like thrown against a wall, and then the classic cruel Peter little boy kind of crawls up on the wall and crawls over her, and then she kind of goes back to bed, and then the next day she wakes up and she's got like a scowl about her all of a sudden, and she turns into a right bitch bag, if I do say so myself. Her aunt will kick your ass. I heard that about old Italian ladies, Natalie, is that they will rough you up, and as we'll see in this movie, that could be factual.
They'll cuss you out in the nicest way.
You take a single burger and 9 more patties. What the fuck?
Oh, they're talking about the
regular or the murder burger.
They're talking about the T-Rex burger.
The T-Rex murder burger. I don't know that I can handle that many patties.
I think a murder burger has jalapenos, I think.
I'll eat it. I'll try it. Send it to me. Dude, you know what I ordered? Stromskrummy, which is supposed to be the stinkiest fish that you can get in a can. Oh, yeah, we're going to do it. We're doing it. It's not going to be here until June 20th, but when it gets here,
that's why it's going to be stinky.
It's going to be horrible. Yeah, we're going to eat it on the YouTube page as a Padded Room Food Challenge.
Monica too.
Monica won't eat it because she's vegan, but she's going to have to sit next to us while we eat it.
Which I think swish it around her mouth and spit it out.
Oh, that's even worse. Why would you do that? Oh, it's terrible. All right, so that's pretty gnarly. So she wakes up the next morning and she's got a scowl on her face, like, And she goes downstairs and she makes breakfast for her dad, and her dad's like, "Hey, man, you never make breakfast for me." And she's like, "Well, fuck you then, you piece of shit." And she takes the breakfast and throws it on the floor.
No, she didn't throw it. She just like held it from him and said,
"Yeah." Well, I mean, same thing, really. She's like, "Okay, whoa, let's just."
But I don't think it was her.
Well, no, of course not. It was Cruel Peter, who at that point had possessed her
because she was a vegan.
Yeah, and he did like the whole crawl over her, like I got you now.
Yeah.
So that's pretty gross. Yeah, and, well, that's Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat. But at the same time, we know what's going on because we're horror fans and we've seen this shit before. So she wakes up and she turned into a real fucking bitch bag. So now she's being a real
burnt the bacon.
A real see you next Tuesday to her dad for no apparent reason. Dad's like, "Well, yeah, I was glad that you made me breakfast. You just didn't get it." Well, what the fuck is this? And then she goes hauling ass. All right.
Is that the Russian canned fish stuff that smells so bad?
I believe it's Norwegian, Natalie, but I could be wrong. It's supposed to be like the stinkiest fucking thing ever. It's going to be here on the 20th, and me and Buddy are going to eat it. We're going to make Monica at least smell it. I won't make her eat it because she's a vegan, but she can at least smell it and join in the anxiety of it, if nothing else. Regardless, so now we cut back to Peter, or not Peter, the archaeologist who's trying to like get into this shit. He goes out on a date with the Italian young lady who is screaming hot, by the way. And we're going to get a little bit backstory about the daughter and what's going on here with these two. So, make a long story short, he was like a burgeoning archaeologist, and he discovered this rare mummy or like a Roman sarcophagus, and he was all excited about it. So he had a big celebration at his laboratory. Everybody got hammered, sent his wife and his daughter home. He knew that his wife had been drinking, but he couldn't wait till the next day. He wanted to start the restoration process. And on their way home, of course, Mom, being drunk, drove him off a bridge and killed Mom, and now the daughter is some kind of a mute. So that fucking sucks.
Yeah. The guilt to carry on that one.
Yeah, but I think we're laying it on a little thick with this archaeologist, right?
Yeah.
I feel like he could have gotten laid easily just being a single dad.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're double scooping it, making him this sympathetic character. It's fine. I get it. I get all that. Now we're going to cut back to the daughter, who is, if we haven't figured it out already, I'm going to go ahead and spell it out for you. She's possessed by Cruel Peter. Dad comes home from his date with the hot little Italian lady. Daughter's gone. We don't even know where she is. He's like, what the fuck is going on here? He goes walking out in the woods. We see the daughter in the hot blonde from earlier doing like a weird pixie dance in the woods in the middle of the night. They're like, what? He's like, hey, what are you guys doing out here? And the hot blonde is like, oh, I saw your daughter. I went out for one of my late night walks in the woods, and I saw your daughter out here. I thought I would just chase her, and now we're doing a pixie dance. We're having fun with it. So he's like, oh, that's great. Yeah, love it. Get your ass back in the house, by the way, crazy lady, and you move it along with your hot self.
Yeah.
So that's what happens. Everything is kind of culminating here because the daughter is getting more and more unruly. She's being more of a bitch bag, smashing shit, breaking stuff all over the house. We know that she's possessed. The dad hasn't quite figured it out yet. Now, at one point, the Italian comes back to the house, and she's like sorting things out. She's going to stay with the daughter while the dad goes out and tries to restore the cemetery a little bit. While that's going on, some really gnarly shit goes down. Like the daughter tries to kill the hot Italian chick. The hot Italian chick is like, dude, hey, I'm an old Catholic type of hot Italian chick. This right here, this is what we call a case of possession. That's the bad news. Mm-hmm. The good news is that my aunt is a mystic minority, and thus she knows exactly how to deal with this. Now, us horror fans are well familiar with the concept of the mystic minority. What you do is you take a minority person, Black, Hispanic, Native American, Asian, in this case Italian, and you stick them in a horror movie, and you take whatever background they have, and you basically formulate your answers off of that.
Right.
Dawn of the Dead, we had, what's his name there? Peter. Mm-hmm. His dad. Peter. His dad was a Macumba priest, and when he said there was no more room in hell. Poltergeist 2, Taylor, the Native American, suddenly he has all the answers. Mm-hmm. We can go on and every Paranormal Activity, which is probably the most blatant use of this. The Hispanic housekeeper suddenly is going to burn some sage and stuff and fix all the problems. Come on, man. Mystic minority at its finest. Regardless, in this case, she's an Italian old woman. And because she's an Italian old woman, immediately knows how to exorcise these demons. So we're going to bring the daughter to... Now, mind you, this is without dad's consent. Right. We're going to bring the daughter to the Italian aunt, and she's going to exorcise the demons. So they do just that. The daughter gets a little unruly. We get a pretty cool little combat sequence here where the aunt is kind of like, she's acting like she's knocked out. And the hot younger niece is running around. Oh my God, what happened? While the daughter is like spider walking across the walls and getting up into weird, impossible ledges. Yeah. That part is pretty cool. Uh-huh. And then she drops down and she
slowly goes down. That was pretty
does cool. Like a spider drop on him. And then she's like, I'm going to get you. But then
hits her up by her throat.
Yeah. And oddly enough, hot Italian is very docile during the throat pickup situation. She literally just stands here and goes, ah!
Yeah, I thought she'd like have like something like cold water.
At least like grab a wrist, throw a punch or something. Yeah. She literally just goes.
Took it. Like, just took it.
Like, just, like, that's it. Like, okay, go ahead and choke me to death, please. I don't know.
Her legs weren't even kicking or
nothing. Just flatline. Go ahead, choke the piss out.
Shock. That's what it was.
Totally. Yeah, totally. But then Italian aunt pops up and she's like, I'm going to put the fucking holy ghost on you and we're going to get this shit sorted out. Well, so she basically knocks down the daughter and then they get her into the bed, strap her down, and they start doing a classic Italian Catholic, I think, exorcism on the daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Dad shows up about halfway through this. He's like, "What the fuck are you people doing with my daughter?
Yeah, what the shit is this?
She's all pale. You got her in bed for. I asked you to watch her for a couple hours. You put her in bed. She's pale as shit. She's
tied down,
terrified. Probably thinks you guys are going to penetrate her with something, which is not, by the way, that far of a reach." And what the fuck what are you doing? I'm going to get my daughter out of here. And they're like, dude.
I'm taking my daughter and going away.
I know this looks a little strange, but I just need you to fucking hang out for a few minutes, okay? Hear us out. Your daughter, possessed by Cruel Peter, being a real bitch bag, attacked my aunt, okay? Almost attacked me, but my aunt did like an ambush move on her, last second, all Shaolin style. And now we need to get Cruel Peter out of your daughter, is what we need to do. Dad's like, whoa, you people are nutsos. Go fuck yourselves. I'm taking my daughter the fuck out of here. We're going back to London tomorrow, and I don't want nothing to do with any of this horse shit. I'm sorry, you're very hot. I would have liked to have fondled you or something, but no, not after you did what you did with my daughter. No way. So he puts the daughter in the car, goes hauling ass back to where he lives. Now, he gets back there, and he's thinking, okay, all right, we're going to go. I'm going to get you out of here, babe. I'm sorry about all this fucking nonsense. We're going to be back in London. Everything's going to be 100% cool later. Fucking lights start flickering. When is that a good thing? He's like, what? Hey, what is going on here? He goes in to check on his daughter, sees her reflection in the mirror. She's like jumping from Cruel Peter back to the daughter. Like, hey, you look at me in the mirror and I'm Cruel Peter. You look at me over here and I'm your daughter. He's like, oh, well, hey, no. Whoa, what all is this shit? And then she's like up on the ledge of the balcony. All Italian villas, bedrooms have a balcony, I guess. He's like, hey, don't
Spider-Man position.
Don't you fucking jump off that balcony. I'll kick the shit out of you. And then she jumps off and goes running off into the woods. So he's like, oh, what the fuck is this now? This is not teenage angst. She's either on meth or those old Italian broads were onto something. So he goes taking off after her. Big chase through the woods. There's like this weirdo old tree out in the woods with an exposed root system. Has something to do with something. I don't know exactly what, but they keep going back to the old tree.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, and he's
never
like,
explain it.
No, and he's like, hey, I think I see her in this root system here. Pretty soon he starts seeing the old broad in the black dress, and he's like, hey, what are you doing here? Are you my daughter? Starts following her. Now, follows them all the way back to the old villa. Now, mind you, I was up to this point in the movie, I was under the impression that they were actually living in the old villa where Cruel Peter and his mom lived. Right. Not so much the case. It's actually a completely separate building. But goes back there and he's like, hey, anyone of you seen like a crazy, feral, deaf 16-year-old? Kind of hot, probably wearing some pajamas. Starts running around the villa trying to find her. Old guy shows up with a shotgun. He's like, you motherfucker, what are you doing here? You're trespassing. Yeah, actually you did. Where's my fucking daughter? So that's where we get the whole rundown of what's going on. And now we're going to bring the archaeologist up to speed with the history of Cruel Peter, the mother, what a fuckface he was. And the old guy with the shotgun is actually the great nephew of Alfredo.
Yeah.
Alfredo died in the quake, but the brother made it, and he was the old guy's grandfather. So that's all well and good. Okay, so now the archaeologist is like, oh, Jesus, fuck. You're telling me, and I'm quite possibly on board with this, that my daughter is now possessed by Cruel Peter. And the old guy's like, well, I don't know anything about that. But if you're talking to what's-her-name's aunt over there and she says so, then she's like the authority around these parts. So you should probably listen to her. Like, okay. All right. I'm going to get the fuck out of here. So he goes back to his house where his daughter is waiting for him with the hot blonde from the woods. The hot blonde is like, dude, saw your daughter out in the woods. Thought I'd bring her back to you. She's acting a little fruity, and that kind of sucks.
Can I come in?
Can I come in? Now, the hot Italian and her aunt were there waiting for him to show up because they need to get to the bottom of this Cruel Peter horse shit also. So the hot Italian and the aunt is like, whoa.
Slam the door on her face.
That is Cruel Peter's mother, motherfucker. I recognize you from the photographs.
Mm-hmm.
No, you cruel bitch, you cannot come in here, slams the door on her face. So now they're like, okay, we're going to continue the exorcism on your daughter because, we got to get Cruel Peter out of her. We got to, in the meantime, keep Cruel Peter's mother, who we just found out via flashback is actually a witch.
Oh.
And there's all kinds of nonsensical stuff going on there. Okay, so the backstory is basically that Cruel Peter actually murdered his father so that his mother would with a razor, so that his mother would inherit the estate, which went off without a hitch because they called his father's death a suicide. But his mother, being the witch, killed herself just before the earthquake and stuck like an insect into the neck incision. She cut her own throat. And that was part of some kind of a weird witchcraft situation. I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss at this point, but that's what we're going with. So, Italian aunt is ready to do battle with Cruel Peter's mom. And she's like, you guys got to get to the cemetery, find the actual dead body of Cruel Peter, anoint his grave, and make it on consecrated ground. Don't worry about the witch, by the way. She can't follow you into the cemetery because that is actually like holy ground. So once you get there, you'll be good to go. So they're like, okay, we're going to haul ass out of here. You buy us as much time as you can. They go screaming out of there on the car. The Italian grandmother opens the door and she's like, come on, you fucking bitch, bring it on. So Cruel Peter's mom shows up and she's like, okay, cut your fucking head off, you old lady. And that's the end of that situation. They actually make it.
Shows them as they're driving.
Yeah, they drive by like a random house. She's standing on the doorway with the old lady's head.
Hucks it that lays right on their windshield.
That is some gangster shit. That is some gangster shit. They actually make it to the cemetery, and they're like, okay, we're going to get in there. We're going to find dead Cruel Peter. We're going to bless his body with the holy water and all that shit. And then once that's done, then it'll be on consecrated ground.
Mm-hmm.
We can kiss this whole shitty night goodbye.
Yeah.
Is what they're thinking.
Makes sense.
They get in there. The archaeologist knows, he theorizes exactly where Cruel Peter is buried. Gets in there, sure as shit. It's like a crypt with an underground, like drop-down tomb situation. They get in there. They find the body of a 12-year-old, and they're like, there it is, motherfucker. So
he spun the globe and then called out Alfredo.
Oh, that's right. They went to Alfredo first. He's like, Alfredo, where you bury that guy? He's like,
and then Alfredo came behind him and like grabbed his head. And he had all these flashbacks of everything.
Told him exactly where to go, what to look for. So that's how he knew, which makes sense. Gets down there, starts throwing the holy water. The Italian broad drops the holy water, and it immediately gets swallowed up by a swarm of zombies. Zombies out of nowhere come out of the fucking woodwork and start fighting these two. Really, they're going after the archaeologist, though. They're not too worried about the hot Italian broad because she stands up pretty much unabated and is like...
It's weird. Every time they showed him, he was surrounded by him. But every time they showed her, there was like nobody around.
No, she's fine. She's like standing. She's like doing one of these. Oh, okay, let's get this going here.
Yeah.
She's fine. She's got time to kill. She does the whole, with the holy water, puts it on the Cruel Peter, and then all the zombies kind of abate. And there was like a drop down Cruel Peter that was standing over the fucking crypt while this was going on. He disappears.
I thought that was the mother.
Was it?
Yeah.
All I saw was like a shadow.
Yeah, it was the mom in that black veil outfit.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. You're probably right. And then they're like, oh, fuck. And then we cut to 2 months later where the daughter is absolutely fine. Well, actually, they go back to the villa and rescue her from this weird altar situation. She's fine. She's back in school. They're on a field trip at a museum, and she's walking around looking at the exhibits, and then she starts hearing voices of Cruel Peter's mother, and then she kind of like looks up at the camera like, I'm fucking Cruel Peter again. Ah! And that's pretty much the end of your movie.
Yeah.
What did you think of Cruel Peter?
I actually liked this one.
I dug it.
Yeah.
I dug it. I thought it was not too bad.
It wasn't too bad.
It felt very much like a Blumhouse movie.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. There was a budget behind this. There was some writing behind this. The acting of the archaeologist could use a little work. I felt like he was basically just a face. But other than that, I thought it was a pretty good show. I mean, the atmosphere was there. You got this old cemetery. You got the Italian villa. You got old school Italy going on.
I think you switch out the archaeologist for Monica's boyfriend, and it would be perfect.
Which one's Monica's boyfriend? Oh, Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
I don't know that you want like a big shredded guy in there. You know what I mean? I think if you put like maybe if you get like a short hair Tom Hiddleston with glasses, I feel like that. When you're telling me an archaeologist, I expect a dude with bad skin.
Yeah, not Fabio.
Not Fabio. That's what we got in this movie was Fabio.
A dark-haired Fabio.
And I do not mean I apologize in advance if it sounds like I'm shitting on this movie because I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. The suspense was definitely there.
Oh yeah.
Atmosphere was definitely there. Yeah. I hated Peter. I want to roundhouse.
Played his part perfect.
Fucking ass. He was basically King Joffrey from King of Thrones. Minus like the army behind him, which King Joffrey had. He's still a little bitch. I thought it was a pretty good show.
Yeah.
Monica, what did you think of this one?
I think this is worth a rewatch too.
I think I kind of felt like they might have been trying to jumpstart a franchise.
Yeah, the way they left it at the end.
I don't think it's going to happen because it didn't get that very good reviews, and it didn't do. I mean, it had the unfortunate disposition of being released during a pandemic. So naturally, there aren't going to be any box office numbers behind it.
Right.
But I thought it was not bad. I thought it was not a bad show. It's definitely worth checking out. Indiana Jones. Well, I mean, if you're going to jump to a archaeologist screen type, then immediately you go to Indiana Jones, right, Clay? But if you're really thinking about archaeologists, I'm thinking like a malnourished looking guy, pasty, probably. Somebody that doesn't look like they've had sex anytime recently, probably. That's just the image that I go to. Not this handsome, hunky type of a dude. My answer is what?
Oh.
My answer is right there.
Indiana Jones.
You think Indiana Jones, huh, Monica? I don't know, man. Seems a bit much for me. It's not a bad show. How many skulls would you give this on the 5-skull meter?
I would give this probably a 5.4.
A 1 out of 5 skulls. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe a 3.8.
I'm coming in at a solid 3. Special effects were good. Atmosphere was solid. Writing wasn't too bad. I like the whole backstory that we got into. I didn't care for the lead. The archaeologist dude was just a bit much. He looked like he jumped right out of a coffee commercial, or like he should have been playing acoustic guitar on a college campus in the grass wearing a headband.
Yeah,
that's a very specific reference. I understand that, but I don't know. I thought it was a good show. I'm not mad at this one at all.
I'm not either.
Okay. There you go.
I liked it.
There you go, my friends. Check it out. It's on Amazon. You got to rent it if you're going to go that route. It's about $4.99. I don't know. I think if you hold off for a month or two, you can probably find this on a Tubi TV. If you've been to Walmart recently, it's in the Blu-ray section. I don't know that it's worth a buy. I don't think it's worth a buy. It's definitely worth.
It's worth $5.
I don't know. I say wait till it's streaming. That's what I say. It's not a bad show.
Like if you had to own it, like if you're a Possession fan out there and want to buy every single Possession movie there is, I would say wait till it's like $5.
I would say that. It'll hit the bargain bin at Walmart.
Exactly.
But if you catch it streaming for free, it's definitely worth checking out.
Definitely.
That's what I say. All right, we're going to take us a little break. We'll come back with some other stuff, buddy.
All right.
My
trying to think this one guy that we always watch. He's in a bunch of movies. I wanted to think Into the Night or something to do with the night. And he's like this real tall guy. Always plays a bad guy.
Okay.
And I think he would be good for the role. I think of his name.
I don't know either. The thought that immediately occurred to me watching this movie was Lucian from Underworld.
Oh,
The guy that played Lucian. I bought it on Prime for $5. I rented it on Prime, Natalie, for like $3.99. So for another $1, I could have just owned it. Is what you're telling me? It's not a bad show. It's a solid recommend, Natalie. I dug it.
Yeah, I liked it.
It's not the best thing I've ever seen, but I thought it was okay. I thought it was a good show. Join us next week, Psycho Bunnies and Padded Room Inmates, for Catacombs.
Catacombs!
Closing out Odd Mother Month right here in the Padded Room.
I'm excited for this one.
Me too. I think that's the best movie she picked. You know, she wanted us to do this Suspiria remake. Hey, Ryan's in the house. What's up, Ryan?
Hey, Ryan.
Have you seen the Suspiria remake?
Not the remake. No.
3 fucking hours long. That doesn't make it a bad movie, Natalie, but it is.
It makes it a long podcast.
3 hours long. Of that, you get maybe 22 minutes of Chloe Grace Moretz. And a lot of I mean, I'm a fan of choreography, choreographed dancing, but if you're not going to show it to me, then I'm going to be a bit disappointed. And I feel like that's what happened with Suspiria. Ryan, have you seen the Suspiria remake? The new one, the 3-hour-long remake? It's a tough watch. I'm not saying I'm mad at it. I'm just saying that it's 3 hours long.
I do like the original.
I mean, that's my problem. Is that you can't watch a remake without comparing it to the original.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at the Suspiria remake, but I don't feel that it holds up to the original. Just saying. I just say Tom York. I don't know who Tom York is. Natalie, who's Tom York? I'm going to get my research assistant buddy on the Tom York, find out who the fuck Tom York is. Is he the guy that directed Suspiria? Because I don't know about that. Composer Suspiria. See, I don't know, man. I mean, I wasn't mad at the music of the new Suspiria. I mean, what do you do? You know, that's the problem with remakes. He looks like a doofus. But he just showed me a picture of Tom York. He looks like a doofus. I'm not holding that against him. I'm just saying. It's the guy from Radiohead. I like the remake better. Well, I don't know, Natalie. I mean, how do you back that up? It's 3 hours long. Really, in my opinion, there's one good scene in that whole movie. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the scene where the girl dances herself into a pretzel. And that part was badass. Unfortunately, that's a 5-minute sequence.
Yeah, just imagine what you could do with the pretzel chick.
In a 3-hour movie. Don't be a freako. I'm trying to have a discussion here.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I don't know, man. I mean, I wasn't mad at it, but it was 3 hours long. And I know I keep saying that, and that's a tough sell, man. Especially in the horror genre where you need that buildup. I like Tilda Swinton in it. I got a huge boner for Chloe Grace Moretz, possibly inappropriate, mind you. But I don't know, man. I just felt like it was a whole lot of chicks rehearsing dance steps. That being said, we're going to see you guys next week with the Catacombs. We're going to kill this live feed. Thank you very much for joining us, Psycho Bunnies and Padded Room Inmates.
Thank you so much, guys.
Join us next week for Catacombs.
Catacombs!
Starring Shannon Sossamon and Pink.
Yeah.
Pink is in this movie. We'll see you next week.
Mm-hmm.